Stop for a moment. What you're about to discover could change the way you see reality forever. There's something, a presence, a voice, a silent whisper, trying to reach you. But you don't notice it. Not because you don't want to, but because you were never taught to listen. Since ancient times, spiritual masters, shamans, and philosophers have known a secret that modern society has forgotten. We are never alone. The ancient Egyptians called them Necheru. The Greeks believed in daemons. Native Americans spoke of spirit guardians. They all knew that there is something beyond what the eyes can see, a higher intelligence always trying to guide those who are ready to listen. But then, something happened. The world evolved. The noise got louder. The voices of intuition were replaced by notifications, appointments, and constant distractions. And this wisdom, this natural connection, was silenced. Not because it stopped existing, but because you stopped listening. But what if I told you that this wisdom was never lost? That right now your spiritual guides are around you, waiting for you to simply open the door? The question isn't whether you can connect with them. The question is, are you ready to remember how? Before opening that door, you need to understand who you're talking to. Because despite what many people think, spiritual guides aren't angels, nor distant gods, nor external forces looking down on you from above. They aren't judges of your fate, nor unreachable masters dictating rules from beyond. They are a reflection, an echo of your own consciousness, projected on a frequency that the rational mind can't easily grasp. In ancient traditions, shamans called these presences spiritual allies, entities that walked alongside humans, offering direction in times of doubt and strength in times of weakness. To the indigenous peoples of North America, they could take the form of spirit animals, each carrying a unique teaching. In ancient Egypt, they were called Ka, a part of the soul that guided the journey of life and death. But throughout history, the language changed. Some started calling them ascended masters, souls who transcended earthly experience and chose to remain as guides for those still walking the path. Jesus, Buddha, Kuan Yin, Saint Germain, beings who, according to various traditions, still communicate with those ready to listen. Others associate them with angels, messengers of light mentioned in sacred texts like the Bible, the Quran, and the Vedas, beings who operate in subtle dimensions, offering protection and guidance when called upon. And then there are spiritual guides. They aren't angels, they aren't distant masters. They are part of you. While angels may act as protectors and ascended masters may bring elevated teachings, spiritual guides are like invisible companions, part of your journey from the very beginning. They don't judge, they don't give orders, they don't impose rules. They simply reflect what already exists within you, but that you may not have recognized yet. The Greek philosopher Socrates spoke of a daemon, an inner voice that advised him but never told him what to do. In Hinduism, it's believed that every soul carries within it an inner guru, an innate wisdom principle called Atman. In shamanism, guides appear as spirits of nature, as shadows in the fire or whispers in the wind, always bringing messages that can only be understood by those who learn to feel rather than just listen. The truth that has always been hidden, or perhaps just forgotten, is that your spiritual guides aren't above you, but beside you. They aren't superior, nor do they hold absolute truths. They are simply mirrors reflecting your own essence, your intuition, your connection to something greater. But here's what no one tells you. Seeking a spiritual guide can be as liberating as it is dangerous, because there's a subtle trap in this path, and most people fall into it without even realizing it. The mistake? Believing that your spiritual guide is above you, that they hold all the answers, that without them you can't move forward, that they are the ones who dictate your destiny while you simply follow instructions. And so, without realizing it, you give up your freedom. For centuries, religions, belief systems, and power structures have conditioned humanity to seek guidance outside of themselves. Since childhood, we are taught to ask for permission, to follow rules, to seek external validation for our choices. The teacher tells us what to learn. The family tells us who we should be. Society defines what is right and wrong. And then, when someone awakens spiritually, the pattern repeats. The person starts seeking spiritual guides the same way they once sought leaders, gurus, or masters to tell them what to do, what to wear, what to believe. But true spiritual guides don't work like that. They don't want servants. They don't want blind followers. They didn't come to give you orders. They came to remind you of what you already know. In shamanism, there is a profound teaching. The true master doesn't point the way, he holds the mirror. And that's exactly what a spiritual guide does. They don't walk in front of you, but beside you, reflecting back what you have forgotten about yourself. The problem starts when you forget this. When you start depending so much on your guides that you lose the ability to trust yourself. When you stop making decisions without first asking them. When you believe that without their approval, you can't move forward, and this dependence can be as suffocating as any other. In Buddhist tradition, there's a concept called the finger pointing at the moon. The master can point the way, but if the disciple only looks at the finger, they will never see the moon. Your spiritual guide is the finger. You are the moon. But what if instead of asking what you should do, you asked yourself? What if, instead of seeking external answers, you started recognizing the voice of your own soul? Because in the end, that has always been the true intention of your guides, not to create a follower, but to awaken a leader. The hidden truth. Who are your spiritual guides? What if I told you that everything you're looking for in your spiritual guides is already inside you? The truth that few people understand is that your spiritual guides are not separate entities from you. They are not above you, apart from you, or in some distant place watching your journey from afar. They are you, an extension of your higher consciousness, an echo of the wisest part of your being, the part that already knows the way before you even take the first step. In Vedanta, one of the oldest schools of Hindu wisdom, there is a concept called Atman, the divine spark within every being, the eternal consciousness that was never born and will never die. In Buddhism, this same idea appears as the higher self, the enlightened part of our existence that observes, understands, and guides. But in everyday life, this truth manifests in much subtler ways. Has it ever happened to you? That moment when a strong gut feeling comes out of nowhere and without any logical explanation, you just know exactly what to do. Or when an inexplicable feeling stops you from making the wrong decision, as if a silent voice is whispering a warning. What if that voice wasn't something external, but your own wisdom trying to communicate with you? Let me share a story with you. In a distant village, there was a young man named Arun. He spent his entire life searching for a spiritual master. He had heard stories of great sages who could answer any question, and the idea fascinated him. One day, he learned about a hermit who lived at the top of a mountain and who, according to the villagers, possessed the knowledge of the universe. Without hesitation, Arun gathered his belongings and set off in search of this master. After a tough journey, filled with storms, cold, and hunger, he finally reached the top of the mountain and found the hermit sitting in meditation. Arun knelt before him and asked, "Master, I have spent my whole life searching for the truth. Tell me, what is the secret to finding a spiritual guide?" The old man smiled and pointed to a nearby lake. Confused, Arun walked over to the crystal-clear water and looked at his reflection. "Who do you see?" asked the hermit. "Myself," Arun replied. "Then why do you keep looking for someone who is already within you?" At that moment, something clicked in Arun's mind. He realized that throughout his entire journey, the voice that guided him every step of the way, the intuition that led him up the mountain, the feeling that brought him there, it was always his. The master was never on the mountain. He was always inside Arun, and the same goes for you. The signs, the answers, the silent nudges, all of it comes from your own consciousness. Your spiritual guides are projections of that inner wisdom, reflecting back what deep down you already know. You don't need to look for them in a faraway place. You just need to remember that they are you. How do spiritual guides communicate? If spiritual guides are an extension of you, how exactly do they communicate? The answer is simple: through vibration. Unlike human communication, which relies on words and sounds, spiritual guides speak through sensations, images, thoughts, and emotions. They don't shout, they don't impose, they don't interrupt. They simply manifest for those who have learned to listen on a deeper level, and this communication happens differently for each person. Some feel, others see, others just know, and maybe you've experienced this without even realizing it. There are 4 main ways that spiritual guides transmit their messages, and each one is connected to a type of intuitive perception. Clairaudience. When the message comes in the form of sound, if you've ever had the feeling of hearing a voice in your mind, like a gentle whisper that comes at just the right moment, or if you've heard your name when no one was around, you might be experiencing clairaudience. Many mediums describe this ability as a silent conversation, where words appear out of nowhere, filled with meaning. But it's not always full sentences. Sometimes it's just a single word, a song that plays at the perfect moment, or even a sudden ringing in your ears. In ancient times, priests and prophets would isolate themselves in temples and caves to enter states of deep inner listening. They knew that the spiritual world doesn't speak loudly, it speaks in silence. Clairvoyance. When the message comes in the form of images. Have you ever closed your eyes and seen symbols, faces, or places you've never been to? Or had vivid dreams that felt more real than reality itself? That's clairvoyance. Indigenous peoples have always understood this phenomenon. In shamanism, dreams and visions are considered portals of communication with the spiritual world. Native American tribes believe that guides appear in the form of animals or symbols, bringing hidden messages to those who know how to interpret them. And the truth is, we all have this ability. When an unexpected visual thought pops into your mind, a scene, a number, a specific animal, it might be more than just imagination. It could be a guide trying to speak to you through the language of images. Clairsentience. When the message comes in the form of a feeling. Have you ever walked into a room and felt an unexplainable chill, or been near someone and, without knowing why, felt either heavy or light? That's clairsentience. The spiritual guides often communicate through the body. A sudden chill down your spine, tingling on the top of your head, a tightness in your chest. These are subtle ways of signaling something important. Shamans and ancient healers relied on this perception to detect energetic imbalances and illnesses before physical symptoms even appeared. They knew that the body feels what the mind hasn't yet understood. That's why, many times, the answer you're looking for doesn't come in words, but in sensations. A sudden relief when you make the right decision. An unexplainable discomfort when you're about to take the wrong path. Spiritual guides speak through your own energy. Claircognizance, when the message comes in the form of pure knowledge. This might be the most mysterious of all. Have you ever just known something without any logical explanation? Like suddenly, a truth pops into your mind even though no one ever told you? That's claircognizance. Buddhist monks talk about a state of sudden enlightenment called satori, a moment of absolute clarity, where all truth is revealed at once. Many scientists, philosophers, and inventors have had genius insights this way. Nikola Tesla once said that his inventions simply appeared in his mind, fully formed, without needing to plan them out. This knowledge doesn't come from outside, it comes from your own energetic field, where all the answers are already stored, and when these spiritual guides want you to understand something instantly, they make that information surface like a flash, as if it had always been there, just waiting for you to notice. The language of the spirit isn't words, but vibration. The signs have always been around you. Your body feels, your mind sees, your heart listens. But just knowing how spiritual guides communicate isn't enough. If you want to receive these messages clearly, you need to build a real connection with them. A bond that isn't based on doubt, fear, or dependency, but on trust and respect. And it all starts with a simple act, giving them a name. Think about it. Since ancient times, people have named invisible forces to give them identity and bring them closer. Gods, nature spirits, protectors. They were all given names because naming something gives it meaning. But more than that, it creates a conscious connection. Your guide doesn't have to be just an undefined presence. They can have a name, a vibration, an identity that resonates with you. Instead of you simply calling them a spirit guide, try something more personal. How about my light team or my spiritual allies? Something that makes you feel like they're not distant, but right by your side. And there's a deep reason for this. Ancient civilizations knew that communication with the spiritual world wasn't just about intention, but about vibration. In Egyptian temples, priests chanted hymns and mantras to open energetic portals. Indigenous tribes danced around fires to align their bodies with the energy of the earth. Tibetan monks chanted mantras because they knew that sound shapes reality. And this knowledge never disappeared. Modern science has proven that every emotion generates a vibrational frequency. Emotions like love, gratitude, and joy raise this frequency, while fear, anxiety, and doubt lower it. If you want to feel your spiritual guides more intensely, you need to raise your vibration, because spirit doesn't speak in words, but in energy. And that's why, when you feel deep love, a shiver of gratitude, or that unexplainable peace, the signs become clearer. Not because something external happened, but because, in that moment, you tuned into their frequency. So instead of trying to hear, try to feel. Instead of asking for answers, step into a state of gratitude, because your guides don't speak to your logical mind, they speak to your heart. Spiritual practice. How to open the channels of communication. The world is full of noise, racing thoughts, constant stimuli, endless distractions. And it's in this noise that many people get lost, unable to notice the subtle signs their guides send every day. If you want to open the channels of communication, you need to learn how to silence the noise of the world, and it all starts with practice. The most direct way to establish a connection with your spiritual guides is through meditation. It's not about emptying your mind or reaching some unattainable state of enlightenment. It's about creating a space where your consciousness can expand without interference. Follow this simple exercise. Find a quiet place, somewhere you won't be interrupted. Light a candle or some incense, something to symbolize your intention to open communication. Close your eyes and take deep breaths. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Repeat until your body feels relaxed. Imagine a golden light around you. Visualize this light surrounding your body as if you're stepping into a field of protection and spiritual alignment. Ask your question in your mind. Don't expect an immediate answer. Just set the intention. Stay silent and observe thoughts, images, emotions. Just receive. Don't try to force anything. Communication with your guides happens in flow, not in control. And if no message comes, just trust. Sometimes the answer comes later, in a dream, an unexpected sign, or a moment when your mind least expects it. The second essential practice for opening the channels of communication is recording the signs. Spiritual guides speak through synchronicities, repeating numbers, symbols that randomly appear, random conversations that bring exactly the answer you needed. But if you're not paying attention, all of this goes unnoticed. Get into the habit of writing down any subtle impressions, significant or recurring dreams, words or phrases that keep coming up, feelings and intuitions that seem stronger than usual. Over time, you'll start to notice patterns. The signs will stop being random and will become an ongoing conversation. In many spiritual traditions, connecting with guides involves raising your own energy. You can do this in several ways. Using crystals. Amethyst, clear quartz, and selenite are known to facilitate spiritual communication. Herbal baths, herbs like rue, lavender, and rosemary cleanse dense energy and enhance spiritual sensitivity. Sacred sound, Tibetan bells, crystal bowls, and mantras vibrate at frequencies that align the subtle body and help you tune in with your guides. The key is to find the practice that resonates most with you. And once that happens, you'll realize you no longer need to search for your guides. They've always been waiting for you to listen, but in the end, there's something even more important than any technique, any ritual, any meditation, because the greatest truth about spiritual guides is that you are your own oracle. Since the beginning of this journey, you might have asked yourself, if guides are part of me, why do I need to call on them? The answer is simple. You don't. You already have all the wisdom you seek. Your guides are just reflections of your expanded consciousness, a mirror of your own power. Great spiritual masters have discovered this throughout history. Buddha meditated under the Bodhi tree until he realized that all the answers were already within him. Lao Tzu wrote that he who knows others is wise, but he who knows himself is enlightened. Jesus said, "The kingdom of God is within you," and all these teachings point to the same truth. The light we seek has always been inside us. So why do we use guides? Because the world has trained us to doubt ourselves. Since childhood, we've been taught to ask for permission, follow orders, and seek external advice. And even on the spiritual path, this tendency continues. We want guides to give us answers when, in reality, all they do is remind us that we've always had them. The true master doesn't give you answers. They simply remind you that you already have them. So instead of asking, "What should I do?" ask, "What does my soul already know?" And you'll see that the answer has always been there. And in the end, there's one final lesson. Something that spiritual guides have always tried to convey since ancient times, but humanity keeps ignoring. That the language of the universe isn't thought. It's not words. It's not logic. It's love. Every time you feel deep love for something or someone, you are in the frequency of truth. You are in alignment with everything that exists, and that's why, in the moments when you feel pure love for an animal, for a friend, for an experience that touches your soul, you are hearing the most important message in the universe, because that is the only truth that matters. Your spiritual guides can manifest in many ways, but in the end, they always point in the same direction: love. Because when you love deeply, without fear and without doubt, you no longer need to hear your guides. You become one with them. But before you go, there's something important you need to know. If you've made it this far, it's because this message found you at the right moment. Nothing is a coincidence. Your guides are always sending signs, and this might be one of them. And to deepen your connection with this wisdom even more, we've prepared a special video for you. Don't leave just yet. Click on the video that's appearing on your screen now and continue this journey with me. I'll see you there.